Hi, everybody. This is Chris, and I'm going to take you through a first real mapping episode on how to map, in this case, King's Quest. And do that so we get a little less shadow going on there. Um, we're going to go through not mapping all of King's Quest. We don't have that kind of time, but get you started, get your feet wet, show you exactly what you need to do to map a game like King's Quest or King's Quest 2 or any of these sort of Sierra games. Um, and I'm going to start out by doing it wrong, just to kind of give you a heads up. We're going to start with one type of map. We're going to find out that we'll be better suited using a different kind of map for King's Quest, and you'll see why. And we'll take you through how I got to that decision, and this should help you with your own maps. But before we do that, I want to show you a map from one of our viewers, Mark Lamert from 6502 Studios. Sorry, not Lamert, Lament. Mark from 6502 Studios. Oh, stop slaughtering your last name there, Mark. Sorry. Sent me a map of one of his Bard's Tale dungeons. I believe this is Kyloth's Tower. And you can see his notes along the side, how he started making the dungeon, some of his symbols within, and just the sheer volume of information. This is so much fun to look at, and I really appreciate him sending it in. I really appreciate him letting me use this. So hopefully this will give some of you guys some inspiration on making your own maps and maybe even sending them in. I'd love to show as many people's maps as I can so that we all can kind of learn from each other and see how different people do different things and the names and terms they use for what they do, and maybe some of the symbols. Maybe there's better symbols to mark stuff up. And I think I will probably use the same tower for mapping as a Bard's Tale example next month when we do grid-based mapping. Kind of a spoiler there, because it'll give us something nice to compare and contrast and see the difference between how I might do something and how he does it. So that's that. I just want to show it again. Send your maps in. I'd love to show them off to other people and kind of let everybody see how we're all doing mapping here in its modern age and how we did it back then. Okay, enough prattling on here. Let's start mapping King's Quest. And I'm going to have the game running sort of in the upper right corner there. Need to find it again. Oh, where are you? Where'd you go, King's Quest? I see you up. Oh, there you are. All right. Let's restart the game. Enter to restart. Okay, so we're starting in this field next to a castle. We obviously can't head south. That's blocked off by a moat. If we head south down here, it's going to get us killed. So what I would normally do in this kind of game is I draw a line just across one of the things there, marking that I can't go south, but I can obviously go north and east. And then I'm just going to do a little bit of exploring around. Just right now, my intent is just to kind of see how the game is put together. I'm not even really worried about an actual mapping situation yet. I'll probably jot down some initial notes and see what I'm doing, but this is an initial foray. And immediately in this first room I've entered, I noticed something that might be tricky for mapping, so I want to see if it's how they do it. I'm going to open the door. And sure enough, the door opens, it goes in, and here's a hallway going north. So now what I need to know is, I'm in this room right here. Boop, I'm in this room right here. I need to know if I go this way and this way, is this room that hallway, or is it another outside room and the hallway itself is its own separate map that it jumps off to? So we're going to just take a quick little peek, see kind of what we're working with here, because they're both are possibilities in these games. In this particular game, however, since I've already played it, I already know the answer, and the answer is when he gets there, when he gets there, no, no. So there's nothing blocking me from moving to the east, so I know that that hallway is not there, which means I need to put, actually, yeah, even more to the point, I didn't even go around. I just went straight back, which means the door goes to its own little submap. So I'll put a little door marker there. I'll probably put like a 1 by it, and then somewhere else I'll do a 1 and an open door symbol showing that it's a map like that. But one of the other things I'm noticing here, and this is what's going to be important, is I'm just walking around. Again, first part of the game, I'm not terribly interested in getting a good map going yet. I want to stay near where I started so I can find my way back with little effort. But I'm noticing in many of the rooms I went in, there's nothing blocking me from going any direction. So this room, this room, this room, this room, and really in King's Quest, if we walk this whole map, only a couple rooms is there a divider issue. And what that would basically look like if I drew this out is the map would look like this if I used the grid system. Because all the other rooms let you go all 4 directions. This is not a useful map. Even though I would, in another game like Quest for Glory or something, because in Quest for Glory, like you might get into the deep woods and it might block you off certain directions. So you'll want to know, doot doot, is that something that's happening? This would be a game because it's a visual thing, and they're doing a pretty good job. Like if you look at that tree in the background, let's see if I can find something here. Normally, like if you look in the background, you can actually see sort of what you're headed to and what you're headed towards, and they make an attempt at showing what's coming up. Let's see if I'm right on this. Do this. Oh. Okay. Anyway, so I can't really use a grid map and have a very useful bit of information. What I'm going to have to do in this one is I'm going to have to create a node map instead and connect the rooms by lines. And that will help in that you'll be able to explore, you'll know better as to where you've been and where you haven't been. So let's say we start with square, square, and we know that these 2 rooms, this is the castle, this is that castle door. I know I can go north from here, I can go from here, I can go east from here, I can go east, north from there, but I can't go south from either of those rooms. So here we are in this room. Now, The next thing I want to know is I can't go south from either of these rooms. And if this map still looked like this, I wouldn't have any sense had I gone north from this room yet. In this case, I know I have. And I know it continues in all four directions. But on this map, I'll never know that unless I start putting little dashes down in every room I've been in. And then your map just starts getting messy because you have little dots for everywhere you've been. Not that this is completely you probably can't even see it. Make them darker dots. Like you'd have to mark off, okay, I've stepped here, I've stepped here, I've stepped here, I've stepped here. And it clutters up your map. If we go the other direction, if we go with these squares like we're doing, oh, and I just cheated a little bit. Because this is going to be my question. In any map where you have a world map or a grid map or an outside thing, one of the first questions you want to answer is, does the world wrap around? Do the maps wrap in on themselves, or are they bordered off? Is there a limit to how far you can go? And since I just saw two doors, or two rooms where I can't go south, am I along the south border? Is there something in here that's going to keep me from going south? And the answer is no. I can go south from this room too. So this is a divide, but it brings it into question, but it doesn't mean that there's not a border. We've got to figure that out. We've got to figure out, is there a border between all these rooms? And to do that, I'm going to just start with walking left. Actually, from this room, I might, because I know some other stuff about the game, I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to walk south. This leads to a room. And I'm going to go south from this room. Here's another room. Okay, so one of the things that happened in here is a dwarf came by. But since I don't know if he's always living in this room because he sort of ran by, I will put like a little D for dwarf in the upper corner just to mark that that happened, because that seems like a specifically a thing specific to this room, or at least it's happened in this room. We'll keep an eye on if it happens somewhere else. Now, here's something obviously a landmark. So if I draw this, once again I can go in any direction. You have a couple options on how you want to mark this landmark. And you can either like start labeling things like A, B, C, D, E, and then similarly A, B, C. So you could say A equals nuts, and that will give you a list of where everything is, and that's great. But that's not why you're drawing a map. We could just as easily say, we could easily say 1 west, 1, 2, 3 south equals nuts. And probably 2 west because the starting position is here. And you'd get the same information as doing that. You don't need a map for just a list of locations. So what you really want to do is you want to write something on here, like you want to make like a picture of the nut. So a little glyph, just something that you remember. Oh yeah, that's where that nut is. Again, this is probably hard to see from the camera there. Can I? me just check something here. Transform. Not what I wanted to do, so that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this. Sorry about this. Just give me 1 second. Properties. Oops, now I lost it completely. Okay. This is what happens when you start messing with stuff in the middle of map. Okay, I'll show you something later and that'll raise up, or even just raise it a little bit. Yeah, it's hard to see, but give yourself a little note. And this is going to be the second thing I would say about this sort of map. If you want, there's nothing that says a room has to be 1 square for each room. And some of my other things, I've made double wide things just so that I can have the room to even write like nut, just fit it in there so that it fits. You can still draw the walnut in. But again, all these maps, none of these are going in the Smithsonian. None of these are for any purpose other than you learning and exploring and practicing with your games and being able to play them again more easily the next time you go back, and even play through them again and go, where was that thing I saw? Oh yeah, it was there. Um, so don't try to go for perfection. Go for something you're going to remember. You're going to know what you're doing. Okay, so we've got these nuts. We're going to keep going. I'm going to try. He's going to get stuck on things. That happens. Again, I still haven't found the edge of the world yet. And here I find a door, so it's going to be important to put like a little door symbol. I don't have to make it that little, I guess. I mean, I tend to make them small because I have a feeling I might want to add other notes to this room later, but there's nothing that says you can't just make a big, fill the whole thing with your symbol because you're just trying to remember things. Door. It keeps going. We'll erase this A out of here because that doesn't need to be here. Oops. I mean, that's good to know too. I went in here. There's a wolf. I would probably just draw like a dog looking thing. Do the best I can with that. But oh, I'm back at the rock. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are 6 wide, which means if I go up 1, you just double check your math. So I'm here. I'm going over 1. And I'm at the garden. I go south 1. Yep, I'm at the castle. So what you kind of want to do here then is make a decision of, I now know the world is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 high. And then it wraps on itself. Where do I want the starting position in this? Um, it's a good question. Um, and it's one of those things where, like, I at very least would scrub these off because I've already got something going up here. And there was nothing in that room, so it's an easy one to move. I kind of make my wolfy dog here. It's a bad dog. It's not a good dog. Maybe do something more. Like that. I don't know. Do something that makes you think dog in that room. So now we've answered the up and down of all this. We need to answer the left and right of all this. How far horizontally does everything go? So I'm going to just start walking left. I'm in this room now. Actually, yeah, we're going to keep walking left. So I'm in this room now. We're going to go into the wolf room. We might have to duck out for a second and get past it. Nope, no wolf. We'll keep an eye on it, though. And this is kind of... It's not a very exciting part of the mapping. Oop. But it's something you got to do. I'm also going to draw this in. I'm going to pause the game real quick. Draw this in. Because we saw a big lake here. Oh, and we've got another marker here. So, another landmark. Got a well. Not going to do anything with the well. I'm just moving through counting here. We've got a goat pen. We've got more goat pen. We've got just a room. I'm starting to run out of space here. And we've got the garden. Well, we've got part of the garden. And since we know that we saw the other side of the garden there, it's pretty safe to assume that there's this garden here. So now we know the world is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wide. And you could literally, depending on how you are more comfortable with the mapping, if you wanted to go through right now and just put the rest of your boxes in, get them ready, no reason you couldn't do that. And this would help you get ready to label things. Now, even with all these squares in, so a couple things are going to happen once I get these squares in. One is, at a glance, I know what rooms I haven't been to yet. There's no lines to them. There's nothing connecting them to the rest of the map. It should be your goal then to connect the rest of these rooms to the map. And if you ever find a room where there's no connections to it, and there is a room in this case where that is the situation, you know there must be some trick or trap or some way to get you there. Um, and it also lets you start doing the A, B, C, D, E, F, 1, 2. You can label these numbers, letters, whichever you are more comfortable labeling them, and get this grid. Now, not every adventure game is going to give you this sort of option. We're going to find some in the future to cover that will mess with this formula. Text adventure games are fantastic at messing with this formula, and I want to get into some of those. Maybe we'll do Zork sometime or something like that to show you how King's Quest is a very simplistic game in terms of its map. And it's one of the more disappointing things when it came to mapping it out. And in this case, I think it's time, because there's really not much more to do now other than just fill in the map. Walk to all your squares, check them off as you fill in, draw yourself a little icon, well, dog, lake, nut, door, other door. I should probably actually make this like, draw a little line like that that says it goes out somewhere. You can even put a C for a castle, or make a castle in it. Something. Do something that helps you know that's where it is. Maybe you don't want an S for starting. Maybe you want an asterisk. Do an asterisk. Here is my finalized King's Quest map. This is the one when I played it last month. This is the map I made to find my way through it and remember where everything is. And some of this is very scribbly, very weird. But I want to show you some of the tricks and things I did here. Labeled North because that's always fun. The only notes I really made were I made that there was a cave at H1. I labeled the creatures I found throughout the thing. I wrote castle for that. If a map went somewhere else, I tried to make some sort of note on that. I didn't even bother trying to write the nut, draw it. I just drew a nut. I know that's the dagger. There's a hut with a one room. There's only one room in that, so I just drew a little box coming off the side where something like the castle. I didn't do the castle, but let's say this cave. The cave at H1, the E4 hole, the door at C1, and I just put them on the back and made their own stuff. I know there's the mouse there, the shield's there. This was a hole that I came in. This was a hole that I came in. And that the door at C1 goes like that. So, and it gives you a chance to kind of look at things and start to remember, like, okay, I know I can't actually cross this river. That's a bit of a problem. I know that the troll blocks all three of these bridges. But again, the thing that comes from drawing this map yourself, and I don't know that you even get it when you look at it online when it wasn't yours, is how absolutely boring the King's Quest 1 map is. And other maps are far more interesting in that this is just a grid and they snipped a couple lines. But there's nothing else happening that's making you snake your way around or work your way around. In other maps, you're going to find yourself being like, I'm so close to where I want to get to, but I can't get there quickly because it forces me to work my way around and work my way back. I might find the Dark Lord map that for the game Matt and I did. That might be something I'll show you in the next one. But this is sort of the value of this. It lets you see the game from another direction other than through the screen. It gives you another avenue to experience the game and enjoy it for what it is, and appreciate the work someone went into crafting the world, and, or in this case, I feel like lack of it, and go from there. So again, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned a little something. If, we'll start getting into more complicated maps as we go on. Next month, I'm going to do Bard's Tale, partially because we're recording Bard's Tale for the other cast, and also because Mark sent in that map, and it'll be fun to do my own map on it, and we can compare and contrast for that. Kind of show how I would have done some of the things differently and how I write some of the things down differently. Again, thanks for watching. See you next time.